Hello, we are live now, okay? Okay, guys, thank you for coming. Now, we have a special guest tonight here on Radio Freedom. Oh my god, I'm so excited about that. Okay, yeah, but Jamie. Okay, hi, Jamie.
Hi, Rafael.
Okay, thank you so much for coming, Jamie. Okay, so before we
Thank you
start, I
for
would like
having
to introduce to you Jamie, okay? Okay, Jamie Johnson is the author of Teach and Still Have Time to Pee. Oh, I love that. And the founder of Kick-Ass Teacher, where the serves as an overworld support coach and inspirational speaker. Oh, I like that. The same year, Jamie won STEM Teacher of the Year. She left teaching forever, or so she thought. Then embarked an adventure that thought, where it's not the system that matters, but happiness of teachers. Now, after 20 plus years of teaching and supporting over 3,000 students and 800 leaders, coaches, and education internationally, Jamie is dedicated to helping overwhelmed educators take their weekends back. Okay, we're going to take back. And she knows that teachers don't need fixing, they need support that improves quality of life. Be ready to be refreshed, inspired, and uplifted. Please welcome Jamie.
Thank
Okay.
you so much. I'm really excited to speak with you.
Thank you, Jamie. Thank you. Okay, first of all, if you don't mind, I'm gonna ask you a few questions. Okay. So I was very first time I saw you, um, your website, Kick-Ass Stitching. Oh my god. Okay. Now, tell me about the name. How can we be a real kick-ass teacher?
Oh gosh, I think the whole reason this exists is because if you're teaching today at all, you are a kick-ass teacher. You already are. You're there, you're doing it, and you're in the middle of a lot of crazy stuff going on.
Mm.
You're showing up for students, a lot of forces kind of working against us doing our best work, and you're there every day. So I think the nature of teaching, you're already doing it.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, we
yeah.
know, we both know that teaching ain't no easy. Oh my God, teaching is so
Mhm.
difficult,
Yeah.
especially today. But Jamie, how long have you been teaching in your life? How
Yeah,
many
it's
years?
been like 20, I think I'm coming up on 22 years. And yeah, it's been 22 years of a lot of different things. And that's kind of what kick-ass teacher is about, is that, yes, we're already a kick-ass teacher, and there's ways to kind of shift things to help you enjoy it even more. Yeah, so over those 20 years, that's kind of been my mission.
Oh my God, okay. So we've been teaching in a private school, public schools.
hmm um, Public school. So I started out at 22 years old in substitute teaching in public schools, and then moved on to my first teaching job as a bilingual elementary school teacher for Spanish and English.
Mhm.
And spent like 10 years doing that. And then I've also taught in an Indonesian madrasa and Islamic high school as a mentor English teacher for their other English teachers. And I've also spent some time developing an alternative learning program for third through eighth graders in a rural school district here where I live in Washington State.
Mm.
So that was cool because I'm developing a program at the same time I'm teaching it, and it was great.
Oh, that's very interesting. So, could you please tell us just a little bit more about this developing program? Because we're kind of interested in it.
Yeah, that was kind of so you'd mentioned how 10 years in, the same year I win STEM Teacher of the Year, I left teaching never to return
Mm.
because it had just become so overwhelming trying to do my best work and having forces kind of working against you. At the time, it was No Child Left Behind, really forcing us into, you know, data.
Mm.
Everybody has to match the same line, and not really. There wasn't really time for relationships, and so I was like, well, I'm going to leave. I'm going to join the Peace Corps and teach there. And so when I came back, I had learned so much about that it wasn't really the system that was the problem. It was the happiness, the health and happiness of the teachers that was the problem, that was creating a moral dilemma for me. And so when I came back, ready to really stand up for, oh, there's a helicopter going over. I hope you can't hear that.
Sure.
I came back ready to stand up for myself in a way I hadn't before, and to set some lines and boundaries, because I didn't think I was going to go back into the regular classroom. And so I moved back from Indonesia after 2 years, and was in the US again, and started subbing while I sorted out what I wanted to do with my life now that I'm back in the US. And I put, like, in all bold caps at the top of the cover letter, I'm not looking for a full-time position. I just want to sub. So that district called me in anyway and proposed an idea that they'd really wanted to develop this program for students who were basically dropping out of school at 4th grade level and not showing up, and they didn't have any kind of support at home. And I had complete creative license to do whatever I wanted with it. And sitting at the table, because I didn't think I was really looking for a job, I was fearless about laying down what my non-negotiables were. That students' well-being and health came before any test that might, be thrown our way. I wanted to make sure that they all had what they needed, the basic needs, before we were trying to bring in the academics. And the committee went for it, and they told me, oh, that's exactly what we want. And I said, all right, well, I'm going to hold this boundary really firmly. And when time comes that, you're getting pressure about these tests, and I'm really holding a firm line that the student needs this or that first, it's going to be uncomfortable, and I'm not going to budge. And they're like, that's okay. And so the time did come, and I didn't budge. And it was uncomfortable for some people. But for the district leader, my boss, he loved it. He was very impressed, because he knew that was a hard line to hold when other educators or principals or people are so focused on punishment that could be received if all your students don't perform at a certain level on a test, versus focusing first on the relationship. And so that was a huge shift for me. I was willing to lose my job to love it. I wasn't going to budge one bit on making sure my students had what they needed first.
Wow, that's amazing. That's so amazing. Oh, I love the story. Okay, now that's very cool, Jamie. So, and then after that, so after you started this, we call it kind of a mission path. Okay, then what came after? Straight into your head. Because you started, okay, so you said, I'm going to start with the program. Okay, so you started that. And then what happens? Because I know that something else had happened.
After the alternative program?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. So I had committed to 2 years. I knew, I was like, I can develop this program and get it running in 2 years, and then we'll hire someone who wants to teach it for 40. And that's what we did, because I knew I wanted to go back to school and develop my skills in a way that would help that mission for happy teachers. Because during that time, not just the alternative learning time, but even before that, I was watching my colleagues really suffer from being told that, they weren't doing good enough, that they needed to learn these scripts better or follow this curriculum better. And they were amazing teachers. Their students loved them. They loved coming to school, and they were doing a really good job holding that space. But I watched them whittle away and become more and more demoralized. And so I knew when I was developing this alternative program that I wanted to go back to school and get my transformational life coaching certification, so that I could be qualified to support colleagues in that way. I always had people in my office crying and seeking advice and help on how to how to teach and survive it. And so I decided, wow, this is the kind of support, with overwhelm. I want to be able to support people with overwhelm from a place of knowledge and
Mm.
expertise instead of just, well, here's what I do. This is what works for me. So during that program, the alternative learning program, I had in the back of my mind going back to school, and that's what I did. I went back, got my transformational life coaching certification, and then had to start learning about starting a business and identifying what that business was going to be, what it was going to be called, what my big why, my big purpose was. And
Mm.
that's where Kick-Ass Teacher was born.
Oh my god! Oh my god! That's so amazing. That's really so amazing. You know what? Because most of us, I'm a teacher myself, by the way. So, so most of us, at a certain point of a career, you feel lost.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it comes a time. So when you okay, I got a job. I'm teaching. Okay, this is really what I want, and then all of a sudden, boom, it comes like I don't know how to explain, like a moment of a that you are dull. Okay, so you're totally
Mm-hmm.
dull and you don't understand what's going on. Sometimes you don't feel motivated, or sometimes your students they don't appear to be motivated. Okay, when this
Mm-hmm.
happens, what do you do?
Well, and that's interesting that you brought up that
Hmm.
piece about student motivation because two things about that. Early on in my teaching career, I started studying research on human motivation, and
Okay.
then I would practice it on myself first and see, wow, this 50 years of research, it's actually true. And then I'd bring it into my classroom to my
Hmm.
students. And I had learned there were three pillars of motivation: a sense of purpose, a chance to master something new, and autonomy. And within autonomy, there's some other
Hmm.
sections. But giving my students those things very intentionally in the classroom kept the motivation level really high. Even when I was dragging, their motivation was really high if I did those things. Um, and I got one of the best compliments from a student. I was in Indonesia when I got it, but he was one of my fourth grade science students. And his mom told me this, that he had said, I really miss Miss Johnson because even though she's been teaching for a really long time, she still had that new teacher thing kind of going on. So I thought, wow, I'm such a good faker because I felt so tired and so frustrated. And I never wanted my students to know how difficult the system was becoming. I went into teaching fully believing I'd have the chance
Hmm.
to teach students to love learning and question everything, never accept just because I said so as a good enough reason or that's the way we've always done it. I never wanted my students to accept those things. So I feel like how I did it was keeping that in mind and using research on human motivation, just staying up to date on that and employing it with my students
Yeah,
kind of
that's
saved me.
that's beautiful. Yeah, that's beautiful because personally, I believe that when you're in a classroom, we have to transmit something to the student, and
Mhm.
it is not something words written on a book on a piece of paper. So we have to do beside what we do, grammar, syntax, or whatever we do. It is important that we transmit something. So I
Yeah,
strongly
yeah.
believe in that because I believe, okay, but I need your advice about that. Okay. So if I'm trying to communicate with someone, okay, if I do not transmit, first of all, empathy, there's no
Mhm.
point of teaching. What do you reckon about that?
Well, my teaching motto is that relationship matters more than anything. And
Hmm.
it's my relationship with my students, my relationship with my colleagues within the school. But if I put relationship first with my students over anything else, um, I I get far better results. And again, there's research on that I was following. So how I use that in my classroom, I was able to convince two of my colleagues
Yeah.
to do this with me. But I decided, because we were a walking school and we were a high poverty school, and so I wanted to do more to build those relationships than I had done in the past. So we decided to walk home with every single one of our students every year. And just, it was uncomfortable at first for the parents, because they're like, wait, why is a teacher coming to our house? Are they coming to check up on us? Is this a well-being check? There were all these suspicions. And so
Mm.
we created a little gift to bring to the house and explained, this is just special time with your child, one-on-one time that we don't really get in education. I think I had done the math one year on the one-on-one time I got with my kids. If I divided up all the time in the day, minus recess, minus specialist classes, I think I had under 2 minutes per child if I were to spend one-on-one time with each of them. So I knew it was important to have this time. So we started doing home visits. There were a lot of adventures involved in that. But that one move, building that relationship in that way, gained me, across reading, writing, and math, it gained me 3 months of academic growth in those areas. And I wasn't even teaching anything differently. It was just that the trust was there, the calm, they were no longer in their amygdala, they're now in their cerebral cortex, because they feel comfortable with me, and they could show me what they could really do as far as their learning. It was amazing. I gained a ton of academic growth just from taking time to build the relationship.
That's very good. I like that. No, that's very interesting. And then, Jimmy, here comes the interesting part that I know you have written different books, okay, and other lectures you did. But first of all, my attention was caught by your Tah-dah list. Okay. So first of all, it's the sound, because usually we would say to-do list, but it looks like a
Mm-hmm.
ta-da, and then we have things to do. I just read a couple of pieces that was very good. And what can you tell me about that? How was the
Yeah.
idea behind the ta-da list?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. As an overproductive American who feels like she always has to be doing, producing, I
Uh-huh.
was really sucked into that social conditioning that we have. Um, and I try to be really aware of my social conditioning. Like, what am I accepting and agreeing with that I actually haven't really thought about? And the to-do list is one of those things. I was super overwhelmed with the to-do list. I mean, I'd just look at it and my heart would just start racing and I would just start panicking. And I realized, wow, well, this isn't working for me.
Mm.
So I decided that I looked at it and I realized almost everything on there, I didn't even need to write down to remember to do it. So I
No.
was just creating this long list of things that were just there to kind of overwhelm me, I guess, and make me feel bad about not getting to them. So I
Mm.
decided not to do it anymore. And the Tah-dah list is just a little guide that I created that anybody can download for free. It
I
is
did.
yay! It's a junk journal. I made it as a junk journal, and
Yeah.
it's sort of my process that I went through and my mindset shift from keeping a list of everything I have to get to
Mm.
and probably won't get to in that day, and instead only marking, like, on my calendar, appointments and things that I actually do need help
Mm.
remembering. And as the day progresses, I just stop and I make a list of the things I have gotten done and that I want to celebrate. So it's a great practice to just sit down and pause for a moment, look at what you've gotten done already today, and your list is way longer than your to-do list ever was. And you get to see that actually you are accomplishing a lot of great things. I include self-care things as well. I actually have 4 sections now. That one is inspiration, One is space. So what am I doing in my house? Another is body. What am I doing for my physical health? And then the other one is work, just whatever, you know,
Mm.
grading papers or writing or whatever it may be. So I kind of try to keep those 4 sections, keep track of those things,
Yeah.
like what I get done, instead of focusing on what I need to do, on the scarcity mindset of what isn't done yet, what I
Mm.
have to get to, and instead shift into abundance where I celebrate, oh, look at everything I have gotten done. I am amazing.
Yeah. You know what? Because also a lot of people, for example, like me, I'm a very kind of messy person. Oh my God, I'm so messy. So I don't need things to get organized, guys. Because, I'm kind of multitasking person. And then I do so many things simultaneously. And most of the times, and I say, oh my God, I got so many things to do. What I'm going to do now? What I'm going to do now? And I feel totally lost. So, and I found in your list a way like, sat nav, something to help me to move in a direction that's going to guide me to, just to give a priority to things that must be done. And something that caught my attention
Yeah.
at the beginning of the story was the huge pile of dishes.
Yes.
Is that true, that story?
Yes, it is true. That whole thing is exactly the way it was. I
Mm,
saw my huge pile of dishes and I thought, do I really need to add do the dishes to a to-do list to
mm,
remember to do them? I don't. I can see them right there. Instead, I'm going to make doing the dishes something I get to celebrate. I will get to write it down on my list after, I've spent some time on them. And that's one of the things in the Tah-dah list. It does not have to be completely done to be celebrated.
mhm,
Just you did some of them. You did as many as you had. And in that story, I had 6 minutes to do the dishes. I was in between client calls and
mhm.
I had 6 minutes. So I set my timer. I did some dishes. I got through almost all of them. A couple things left, but it didn't matter because I did it. And so I write it down on my list, or I give myself a sticker, or whatever little mini way I want to celebrate kicking ass that day. I I do it. So yeah, it helps me focus on what I have, how I've been successful today versus how I've not been successful. I want to be in the positive.
Oh, yeah. I received a message from another teacher, Jenny, and he said, "Yes, I'm a messy free teacher. How can you help me?" I
I
know
don't
this
know.
guy.
I
It's a
I,
nice
I feel
guy. It's
overwhelmed,
an
but
art teacher.
oh
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
He teaches
I don't
art,
know.
mm, and this kind
It
of
sounds
messy
like a
guy.
good place. Yeah, it sounds like a good place to be messy to me. I think art
Yeah,
should be messy.
yeah. Mr. Messi.
Yeah, celebrate it as an asset. That's what I would say.
Yeah, but you know what? I believe that the reward after completing the task is an excellent motivation.
Yeah,
Yes,
recognition that
indeed it is.
self-validating. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
because I've got so many things to do, and after that, one by one, and I say, okay, ooh, I can have a cup of tea now. Oh, okay, I had my
Yeah.
cup of tea. I can have a
Yeah.
biscuit. Yeah,
Yeah. I
and
mean,
it
you
does
think
work.
about the self-talk that we do in regards to what we get done during the day, and it can be self-talk like, wow, you didn't get very much done today, you really forgot that, or you didn't get to that, you're a bad person because, or lazy, or a failure in some way because you didn't do those things. Or we
Yeah.
could look at all the things we did do. Wow, I got this done, this done, this done, this done, this
Mhm.
done, spent time over here. I have something to celebrate. Like you said, have some tea and biscuits and take a rest, put your feet up. You deserve it. You worked hard, and having evidence for that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly like yeah, and also there's another thing, that's quite funny. Um, of course, we can find the motivation. Yeah, that's a great, inspiring motivation to do so. But I believe there is something else, something you're hiding from me right now.
Oh,
um, what would it be? Part of the motivation.
yeah. I think, well, there are three things that
Mm,
I feel changed my life as far as enjoying my teaching. And I'm not actively teaching now. I'm fully doing overwhelm support for
right.
educators, other coaches, leaders. But what changed in my teaching and now also applies in my role as an overwhelm support coach is three things: mindset, kind of like we
Mindset.
were talking with the Tah-dah list, and shifting your mindset around guilt or what you get done. And then number two is the relationships. So putting
Mhm.
relationships first in whatever you're doing. For me, that makes my work, that's where the true meaning is in my work. And when
Mm,
I say putting relationships first, that might mean knowing which relationships to let go of and move out, as well as which ones you want to invest in. And then the
yeah.
third thing is boundaries, and that's such a big one. Courageous boundaries. I talk a lot about that in the book, Teach and Still Have Time to Pee, how to hold and respect your boundaries. Because
Mm,
a lot of us believe or will say, oh, so and so is not respecting my boundaries. I told them I don't want them to do this, and they're doing it anyway. And then I have to blah, blah, blah. So
mm,
with boundaries, the biggest thing that I teach people is that no one has to give a darn about your boundaries. The only person they have to matter to is you. Because
mm,
if I respect my own boundaries, I'm going to hold them. And everyone
mm.
else has no choice but to learn them because I'm going to hold my own boundaries. So I've also learned that people who love you and support you, you setting boundaries, it's not even a blip on the radar. They're just like, okay, cool. But
Mm.
people, narcissistic people or bullies, they're really going to push hard against that boundary, and it's going to
Yeah.
feel like it's not going well, but that's a sign it actually is going well. If they feel your boundary, they notice it's there, they're pushing
Mm,
back, you're getting the message across. Just hang on, hang in there, hold on to it, be courageous about it, and let go
mm.
of the guilt attached. Don't buy into that, because without our boundaries set around, things like self-care and having time to replenish and nourish ourselves, without those, then we can't be available for anyone. Eventually, we just burn out or wither away. Yeah.
Mm. So I love this kind of thing. So the most important it is to respect our boundaries. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Your own,
Mm,
for yourself.
mm. Our friend Jenny, he says, I find motivation in my students' eyes. Do you find the
Oh,
same?
I love that, Jenny. Oh, that's so good. It just tells me that you're connected, maybe spiritually, like
Mm,
you really can sense what's going on with them. And I know what she's talking about. I remember I've always taught in schools that are what we call in the US Title I schools. So they're high poverty, high need, high risk happening. Um, and I remember the first time, it was fairly recently, I was
mm,
in an affluent school, and I walked in, and I'm, walking down the halls, and I smiled at some of the students, and I felt this sense of like bounce back. I really need that smile. They didn't care about it. Life was so great. And I thought, wow, I never
mm.
noticed how much the places I've mostly been in, people really need my smile. Life was pretty rough for a lot of my students, and that connection, like Jenny's talking about, in their
Mm.
eyes, that sense of, having an adult that they know cares about them and relies on them and is just smiling at them. It's something so simple, but it
Yeah.
is very, very rewarding. I agree.
I have a question for you. would you prefer rather working with children, teenagers, or adults?
Hmm, that's a really hard question. I miss working with my elementary school students a lot. I
Mm,
love middle school students too. I think my personality fits in the, you know, 12-year-old range the best, but I kind of like all the children very much. I like working with all
yeah.
of them. I feel like my calling as my career has progressed, I feel like working with adults who are going to be working with children feels very
Hmm.
powerful because I get to pass on something in a bigger ripple to more students. The more happy teachers we have, the more happy students we have. So if I'm just working with my students in my classroom right now, it's awesome. And also, I don't feel like I get to have as big of a ripple out to the other kids today. I feel like the ripple is still pretty big. I mean, they'll grow up and do amazing things, but I think working with adults is preferred not because of the actual teaching part, but because of the immediate effects it's having in classroom.
Okay. I would like to be honest with you. I miss children because I used to teach in a middle school, but that was many years ago. And
Yeah.
yeah, children are very, very, very cute. They are cool, and they like you.
Mhm.
It's like the little sponges. Okay, so they absorb everything, and I prefer them to compared to adults. Yeah. Because I
Yeah.
found in my teaching experience, when you face adults, especially college, university students, postgraduated, it's like they are somehow trying to challenge you. Does it
Mhm.
ever happen to
A lot of, yeah, I would definitely say, because I've been that way too. When
you? Hmm.
someone comes in, like say I'm going into a school to do a training or in service on overwhelm and burnout, and I know as a teacher, I got really tired of experts. We call them drive-by experts coming into the classroom who have
Mhm.
never been in a classroom. They don't know what it's like to have 30 kids all needing you at once,
Oh my God, yeah.
telling us how to do it better. I'm like, oh, you're going to tell me how to do it better, but you've never actually experienced it. That really drove me nuts. And so I feel like a lot of teachers and adults, they sit there with that I already know all this hat on, and they miss a really great opportunity to maybe learn something new. So I have
Mm.
to, the challenge is, like you said, to get through that and to connect. It's again that relationship piece. Build that relationship, share some of my own stories. I've been there. I know what it's like to be, in a classroom of 30 kids and angry
Oh
parents
yeah.
and all of it. And I'm here coming from that platform to share research, evidence, my own personal experience, and not tell you how to do it, but give you a nugget, an idea to turn it into something that works for you. Because I do believe only the teacher in the classroom knows what's going to work best for their students in their situation. And we do
Mm.
have way too many experts coming in telling us what's going to work without knowing our students at all, and or understanding the situation. So it's really up to I think I honor that. Yes, you do know everything you need to know. I'm not here to change you or tell you how to do it better. I'm here to support you in what you already know and help you
Mm.
dig a little further into what's going to work for you even better.
I love that. Yeah. Yes, that's very beautiful because I personally think that uh, we have to change the way of teaching. Do you see what I'm saying? Because for so many years, teaching was so, I would say, one adjective, static.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I remember when I was a child and I was a student, I had this teachers that were so boring. You know, And sometimes you were there. There was a teacher in front of you, and they just opened the bloody book and they say, bloody
Mhm.
in history and math, and you say, "Oh my god, I'm gonna die," you know. And I didn't want to become a boring teacher, so and I'll start to do crazy world things.
You don't strike me as someone who would ever be able to be a boring teacher. I don't think it's in your DNA.
No. Jimmy, I would like to ask a question. Okay, then I will exchange my personal experience. What is the weirdest thing you have ever done while teaching?
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Okay.
So I I did a lot of weird things. I was like you. I didn't want to be boring. I didn't want to lose my youthful sense of my youthful perspective, and I wanted to hang on to that in the classroom,
Hmm.
whether I'm with adults or kids, doesn't matter. So in my elementary school classes, I had a sucker, a lollipop, that had a dead scorpion inside of
Oh
it,
my god.
preserved inside. And every year I tell my students, if there's ever a day when every single student brings their homework in on time, I will eat this sucker, scorpion and all. And
Oh
that
my god.
sucker lasted, I think, for 4 or 5 years. It was so old. I just kept reusing it, saying, I have this sucker. Well, one year, I think, yeah, 5 years in, one of my classes, they got all the homework in. There was one student who didn't have it done, and I caught them lined up outside before school. Everyone was helping him get it finished. And I had to eat the sucker and crunch the
No way.
scorpion in front of
No
the
way.
whole class. And it was
Oh my
disgusting.
god.
It was so horrible.
You
so
did it.
so
You really
funny
did
though.
it.
I did it. Oh,
Oh
absolutely. I
my
said
god.
I would, so I did it.
Ew.
they
How does
still
it
they
taste?
still remember that. The
How
sucker was
does
a
it
blueberry
taste?
flavored. It
Yeah.
didn't have much of a flavor. It's just a dried bug.
Oh my god. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. I would have died before biting it, I can tell you. Oh my god. Oh my god. I wasn't so extreme, I can tell you, but one of the weirdest thing that I did, oh, you'll find on my Facebook page, by the way, it is
Uh-huh.
when I just gathered around all my students, grabbed my guitar, and I said, I'm gonna to teach you the pronunciation in English. And they say, how? I said, we gotta sing. I said, oh, we gotta sing. We're no class, music class. I say, who cares? Now you sing.
Best
You do as I
way.
told you. So you can
I
see the
love it.
video on my, yeah. I'll share the video. It's on my Facebook page, and you can see me strumming with the guitar, and all of my students were singing like crazy people.
I
It's
love
worked.
it. I think that's the best way to teach language. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, it's worked. Because I believe
I bet
that
your
they,
students really enjoyed it.
oh yeah, they loved it so much. Yeah, but that was a very, just a random act of craziness.
Mhm. Yeah.
Uh,
I acknowledge you for that so much because like you said, stepping outside of the box and being human and doing things differently, it's
mm.
memorable and the lesson sticks with them.
Yeah, I wish I could become a kick-ass teacher.
Sounds like you already are. You already did.
Yeah. Oh my god, that's flattering. Yeah, I like that. Speaking of which, we know the second thing that comes into my head after all this craziness, it is about teaching and still having time to pee. Okay,
Yes.
I love that. Okay, tell me the story behind the title because it's so crazy and I love
Mm.
it.
Oh my gosh, the title.
Oh
The
yeah.
title took a long time to come up with, so I don't know if there's one story behind it, but I would just say that I am a woman who makes a lot of mistakes, and I learn from my mistakes, thank goodness. But kind of the that's what the book is about, is kind of going through the mistakes I made and what I learned from each of those
Hmm.
mistakes to help me have time for myself. Oh, the title. Okay, I do remember how the title came. I was teaching, and my day is planned down to the 30 seconds, right? I'll run into somebody, a student teacher I haven't seen in forever in the hall, and I'm like, walk with me, like I can't stop and pause and say hi and have a chat. Like, you can have my 30 seconds down to the gym, and then I got to go back. And I realized, wow, this is terrible. I have no time. I don't have time to eat. I don't have time for anything. And I realized the only time I get is when I go to the bathroom and I lock the door and I can finally breathe in there. Like, no one can bug me. No one can talk to me. Like, that's all the time I have. And if that time gets taken away from me, I have no time. So, and there were times, I found out from my doctor that teachers had among the highest rates of bladder infections because literally did not have time to pee during the day. We were holding it so long, we're creating physical illness from it. And I thought that's a problem. So then that's where the title came from, that, there's got to be a way to teach and still have time for our basic needs, still have time to pee, still have time to eat healthy food, still have time for hot dates, like there's got to be life outside of grading papers and lesson planning, or we won't last very long.
Exactly. So yeah, I do believe that we have to divide our daily routine. Okay, just take some breaks from lesson to another one. Oh my god, somebody just crashed the car outside. Yeah.
I heard the wheels. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Oh, that's
We're
normal.
in different settings.
Yeah. What I'll tell you what, there's still some bloody idiot outside. They like to do these silly things. Okay, they're just kids. So,
Like spin their wheels and
stuff. I never did that. I'm too poor to buy new tires on my car.
That's expensive habit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very expensive, I can tell you. So, Jamie, okay. Now, once I have found a time for teaching and do my needs, whatever they are, okay, what else will I find in your book?
Yeah. You'll find some stories that I've already shared, like the doing home visits and how to get parents involved with the least amount of effort. I talked about ways that it's like the home visits sounded like I was spending a lot more time on home visits, but really, like I said, I gained 3 months of academic growth, so it saved me time in the end. So you'll find in the book stories about, some of the hard stuff I went through, the moral and ethical dilemmas and choices I had to make to do my job. So I talk a lot about those struggles, and then I talk about solutions, usually setting boundaries or changing mindset. And just my personal experience with a system that was really making it difficult to build the relationships with students and make sure that the learning was equitable. And then also consider that teachers are human beings who need to eat food, and they need time with family, and they need to go to the bathroom and not feel guilty about it, not feel guilty about taking care of themselves, and find ways to take care of yourself without giving up excellent teaching. Still be get great results with your students, but be more, have a more fulfilled life as a teacher.
Yes, exactly, because believe it or not, there are a lot of people that they have a funny idea about teachers. They don't believe that we are people. We just go to the supermarket, buying groceries, going out on Saturday, having a beer with friends, and things like that. So I don't know why students have this twisted idea about teachers. They don't consider us like real people. I don't know. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, we
very
have
strange.
to. I mean, I think some of my students thought I actually slept at the school and lived there.
Mm,
And and then people
yes.
sometimes think that, you're, especially if you're working with really young children, that,
Mm,
your whole life and every ounce of you should be given to those young children, not understanding that, no, I need to go on trips to Hawaii, and I need to do things that will restore my spirit and my joy and my energy, so that I can
mm,
show up for those kids as
mm,
a happy person who enjoys life and isn't stressed out and overwhelmed all the time. Because, yeah, I
mm.
am a person. I
Yeah.
do get overwhelmed.
Yeah, believe it or not, we are people. Like, we have the same problems like all the normal people they have.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's like that time
Yeah.
when I was at the supermarket buying groceries and I found a student of mine. I look at him and say, Ralph. And I say, yo. And he said, what are you doing here? And I said, buying groceries, I
Shopping.
guess. Shopping.
Yes, I eat food. I make
Yeah.
dinner.
Yeah. They look
Yeah.
at you like, I thought you lived in school.
Yeah. What are you doing outside of school? Hmm.
Exactly. Yeah. And some people, they ask me, have you got a house, friends?
Hmm.
Yeah, it's this kind of weird questions, and they make me
Yeah.
baffled, extremely baffled. Because, and then I say, how to reply? Oh my God. People are crazy. People are crazy. And then, One, I want to ask you another important part of this lovely chat I'm having with you. Could you please tell me when did you create the website Kick-Ass Teacher? Was it an idea, or are you alone doing all these things, or are you supported by other people?
Oh, yeah. Because, that's such a good question. Because,
Thank you.
right, my certification, my degree is in education, is in teaching. It's not in website building, marketing, or writing books or any of that stuff. But now I'm
Mhm.
doing all that stuff. So how do I do it? Yeah, I
Exactly.
built my own website, and I learned, I watched videos, I had built a website for my classroom many, many years ago, before there
Mhm.
was anything like it is now. But so, and I've always been kind of tech savvy, but yes, I've been taking classes and signing up for programs to learn about running a business and marketing my business. And the website building just kind of, that's one of those things where I make a lot of mistakes, learn from them, and just get it to happen however I can.
Mm.
But I don't pay for anybody to do that yet. I will. And I understand why people make a lot of money building websites, because I don't think you could pay me enough money to do that. It's it's not my favorite thing to do. It's frustrating.
Yeah, I know it's quite difficult. I tried to build my own blog using a WordPress. And that was quite
Oh,
fun,
WordPress.
but that's a
Yeah.
pain in the neck.
Yeah. Yeah. When you just want to write, you want to do the writing and the blogging, not the tech part.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Although I believe WordPress is good for blogging, but you can't do much on it.
Mm.
Yeah.
I haven't, I
Well,
tried it a long time ago, but I'm not good at WordPress. Yeah.
uh, join the club. Neither do I. So your website is not WordPress. That's the
No,
good.
it's Wix. Yeah.
Oh yeah, oh, I love that. It's still just all the beautiful things. You don't have to do any coding or and it just
No.
gibberishing lingo on technical stuff. You
Yeah.
just
You can if
yeah.
you want to. So for little things, there might be a small bit of coding, but you don't have to for most of it.
Oh, good. I hate coding.
Mhm.
I really hate doing that. I really hate doing that. There's something else that just bumped into my empty pumpkin, and okay, I tell you what. I dare you. Okay, suppose that I am a young innocent teacher that is nearby, okay, what would you tell to a young teacher that doesn't have any teaching experience on the first day?
Put the relationships before anything else. No matter
Mm,
how much people tell you, you have to do this, you have to do that. This is a mandate, that's a mandate. The one thing, if you want to love your job, is the relationship with your students and with their families. Put that first.
oh, I love this. No one ever told me. No one, really.
Me either.
Yeah,
Yeah, we have to trial and error, right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, but how can you cope with the families? Sometimes they can be hyenas.
hmm Yeah, I
Yeah.
had, oh my goodness, that's such a good question. I had, when I was doing the program, one of the things
Yeah.
I was really about was that I'd be able to do home visits for all of those students as well. And I had to get signatures from parents every month. And I
Hmm.
visited their houses or, their workplaces frequently. Well, in the beginning, some of the parents were super reluctant to meet with me. They had horrible experiences in public school, traumatic experiences when they were growing up.
Yes.
And so they hated school, and they didn't feel like they needed to make their kids have any respect at all.
Mm.
So trying to get one dad who would hide from me and not show up. So then I'd say, all right, I'll work. And he would call in sick to his work that day so that they couldn't find him. So I started to stalk him and run at him in the grocery store parking lot to get him to sign a paper, or surprise him at work to get with me and learn that I was not there to complain about his child's behavior. I wasn't there to tell them how kind his child was, or that he was a bad parent to do more. I wasn't there for there to celebrate success, kind of like the Tah-dah
Mm.
list, to celebrate success
Exactly.
and get a signature
Hmm.
and let them know what we're working on next. And if they choose or have the ability to support, they can, but they don't have to. And
Uh-huh.
so building those relationships over time, then they're chasing me down, and wanting to meet. So it was a really great shift to see the families, like you said, that were real monsters in the beginning. I mean, coming
Oh, yeah.
across the table, yelling at people, scary people who were very supportive of what we were doing in school, and wanted to sit and chat with me about their child and see their progress. So I love that part. I miss that part so much. Yeah. Give
Yeah,
me
well, it
the
was so
scary
scary.
parents and the difficult students. I love
And how can you
them.
cope with them?
hmm
Mm.
How do
How
I
do
cope
you?
with the parents?
Yeah, exactly. When they
Yeah. I
become
get, yeah.
savage, aggressive. Yeah.
Yeah. Because a few of those. And I share one of the stories in my book about a really um, embarrassing, horrible moment with one of my students' fathers. But I sometimes I cry and get really pissed, out by myself, my parents.
Mm.
And then like I said, build that relationship. I find out what their story is, and every parent that I've had an issue with had some kind of traumatic, awful experience in school with teachers.
Mm.
So their anger at me is actually anger at their
Exactly.
third
Yeah.
teacher that they're letting out me.
Yes.
And finding out
Yes.
what their story is, finding out, why they're angry, and then also helping them see that we're both on the same side, because we both want their child to succeed. We both want to feel good about themselves and be
Mm.
successful. And so when we get on that same page together, and I just keep meeting with them, I keep checking in, I keep sending positive notes about their child. And then it just kind of fixes itself out. As long as I don't complain, sometimes you complain about behaviors to parents, about students' behaviors. I try not to do that till I've built up a really good relationship with the parent and feel that they
Mm,
truly know we're on the same side.
okay, I understand. Okay, that's very
Yeah.
important. So whomever is watching us right now, they are receiving this message. I found it really extremely important. Yeah. Oh, that's
Thank
very good.
you.
That's very good. Yeah. Um, what else would you tell to a new teacher?
Yeah. I like this train we're on with parents, and one of
Mhm.
the things a new teacher, I think your best partner with getting a student, getting success for your students is the family. And they aren't all going to be great families or looking, the same as maybe your family did. But finding a way to work with them and build that relationship with them is important. And so some of the research I did when I was working on my master's thesis
Mhm.
was on how to get parents of language learners to show up in the classroom. So specifically in the U.S., language learners that English was not their first language, how to get their parents to show up. And there were three magical things that
Okay.
all the research I read said would work. And that was having food in your classroom,
Mhm.
having help to access sources like free social support of some sort, and then a chance to see their children perform. So I was like, whoa. And
Mm.
the results were amazing. Have, we'd have an all school open house, and my classroom would be so full of parents. It was standing room only. And I knew they needed to get out and go to other. It's standing room only. I'm like, all right, you guys, that's it. That's all I've got to say. What are you still doing here? Like, well, the food was the big draw on that one. So they're all waiting to find out who wins the
Ooh.
M&Ms. Um, but yeah, they had a chance to work. I had a video playing in the hallway of kids performing. A chance, some snacks, and then M&Ms. And then I had outside my
Mm.
classroom, I would have somebody like to help get library cards for our local library, or help getting health insurance, help filling out the paperwork for that. And it was amazing. So our school kind of adopted that and started making 3 elements at any event. And we would have tons of families showing up. So I would tell a new teacher that use those 3 things when you want to get families involved. And because family is such a huge part of education, and they're going to be one of your best resources for getting,
Mm.
for successful learning.
Very good. Oh, I love that. Okay, that's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. Okay, Jamie, we are getting close to the end of our interview, but okay, but I believe that this is not going to be the first and the last. I'm pretty sure there will be other interviews with you because there's so many things that you have to tell us, so many stories, and also we want to know more about your next book because I know you're writing one, but you don't want to tell. But I know, okay, okay. So just because we really want to become a real kick-ass teachers, as it's written here,
Mhm.
okay. We really want to become a kick-ass teacher, and we're pretty sure that you will help us to become really kick-ass teachers. Okay, that's it. Okay, we're finished for today, but only for today, okay? Because we are going to return very soon. Okay, Jamie, thank you so much for coming. I really love talking to you, and that was a very deep and um, intense experience. I would say that it was a growth experience because I learned so many things in an hour that not in many years of sufferings and uh, strange teaching. experience. Okay.
Oh, well, thank you so much for
My pleasure.
this chat with you. It's really great to meet you. You're amazing.
Thank you so
Yeah, thank
much.
you so much.
So I'll be waiting for you for the next interview, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jamie. I wish you have a beautiful day and keep rocking and keep kicking ass.
You too. Thank
Okay.
you.
Bye,
Bye.
Jamie. Bye bye. Bye.